Welcome all. I am looking forward to our next panel discussion of today, Building Loyalty Post-Purchase. To kick us off on this very important subject, I'd like to introduce you to our speakers. Ewelina Aiossa, founder and CMO of Clinical Skin, Genevieve Yosta, Enterprise Customer Success Director at Full Story, and Arlene Ponce, a digital product leader and e-commerce expert. And our moderator, Nicole Silverstein, e-commerce editor at Retail Touchpoints. Welcome, everyone. And Nicole, I hand it off to you.
Thanks, Kaitlyn. Really happy to be here with everybody today, digging into the really timely topic of post-purchase loyalty. As Kaitlyn said, I'm Nicole Silverstein from Retail Touchpoints. And the reason I say that this issue is so timely is because by all accounts, customer loyalty right now is at all-time lows, driven by just really high customer expectations and the huge amount of choice that shoppers have today. I personally don't see that changing anytime soon with all of the macroeconomic stuff happening right now, especially given that price is one of the most frequent reasons that people abandon a brand. So I think a great place to start would be to just hear from all of our panelists today about what they're seeing on the ground. Tell us how you're seeing customer loyalty shift and change these past couple of years. And maybe Arlene, we could start with you.
Yeah, sure. Nicole, I think you're spot on. Customer loyalty is something that's very hard to retain these days because there's kind of this unprecedented amount of choice as well as just like convenience. You can get something 500 different ways overnight, tomorrow, in 2 hours. And so the approach that I take specifically from a product standpoint when you're thinking about what to build and how to engage with your customers is you kind of have two choices, and it really depends on your business. You can kind of continue this race to the bottom of I ship faster, I'm in more places, I'm in more advertising, or you can kind of take a step back and think through what are some other drivers of customer loyalty? How can I build a relationship? How can I encourage customers to shop with me, even if it takes a little bit longer to get your product, or if maybe I'm not the lowest price point at any given time?
What about you, Ewelina?
Yeah, so I think like customer loyalty is such a tricky subject because I think our attention span in this 21st century world is becoming shorter and shorter, and we are getting messaged and bombarded by messages from multiple brands on a constant basis. With that in mind, I think the true loyalty lies within being able to provide an added value to the customer, constantly engaging them without, in a meaningful way that is relevant to them, but without being too spammy. And I personally have been discovering different ways of communicating with our customers and finding them throughout their purchase journey on different channels. I know that they consume information, through publishers. I can, touch them with SMS marketing. I can segment my list when it comes to e-marketing, not to spam them too often. But I think it's all about providing added value and something that it's, in terms of skincare, it's educational content mostly, but also adding a, element of surprise and delight. And I think when it comes to loyalty, we want to make sure that our branding and brand lives beyond the life cycle of the product that they decide to purchase. In terms of skincare, it's 3-month time period. So I'm always thinking about unique GWPs, things that incentivize the purchase and kind of live beyond the life cycle of the product.
Have you noticed any like market shifts in loyalty on the customer side for you the last couple of years? Or is that not really impacting your business?
No, it's definitely impacting the business. I think skincare segment of the industry, it's super saturated. There's a new skincare brand coming up and popping up like mushrooms after the rain. So, to capture the share of voice and share of minds of our customers, it's super, super tricky. I personally, have a very robust marketing mix, and I try to communicate with our consumers directly and indirectly through different channels, B2B, direct to consumers, the direct marketing way, the old school guerrilla marketing, print advertising, but also digital. I think digital has been the most intriguing channel for me because I'm able to measure, the KPIs more accurately versus the traditional marketing. So it's easier for me to justify where my marketing dollars are being spent and what, deserves to be optimized and scaled and what I should be pulling back on.
What about you, Genevieve? What have you seen from your side of the industry as far as just the trend on the customer loyalty side of things?
Yeah, so I think Arlene and Ewelina hit on a lot of the really key points in that there are, so many things that have changed the way that, customers that we work with define loyalty and how they're thinking about analyzing loyalty. I mean, earlier this year, we would have said that the pandemic was probably the thing that was influencing the way that consumers shop and spend money the most. But you hit on it as well, Nicole. I mean, now we're facing really crazy fluctuations in the economy, which is maybe causing people to think even differently about how they spend, who they shop with. And on top of that, you have a complete change in mindset of what matters to me, what makes me feel good, what brands do I want to be, seen wearing or in my house or things like that, because the mindset of the consumer has just changed so much in terms of really what matters to them. So we're really looking at that and kind of thinking about, digitally, because a lot of what we do is focused on digital at Full Story. And we're looking at the different ways consumers interact with things and how they're kind of staying, like time on page and all those different things, not to get into the tactics too much. But on top of that, too, I think the power of community has really come up so much more in terms of what are my friends saying? What are people in my network saying? What are the communities I belong with saying? What are reviews saying? So that power of word of mouth has really come back and really become a key piece of how we're trying to think about different touch points and the different ways to kind of think about loyalty just outside of purchase behavior, because we can't just rely on one of those things. I mean, if you look at Patagonia as a brand that I think everybody has been talking about recently. I mean, their business model has just been so rooted in community and making sure that they stay true to who they are in terms of doing business from a place of trust and transparency. That's cultivated this really strong community that has just rallied behind them. And that's something that they've just done really well because they've listened to that, they've used that. And so I think a lot of brands are kind of thinking about how to go back to that. To really think about how to tap into some of the things that influence loyalty and purchase behavior today.
That is such an important point, Genevieve, because there's been a lot of focus on all the various, and there's been many socioeconomic things that have happened the last couple of years. But in tandem with that, there seems to be, and it's growing, a real mind shift in consumers and how and who they want to spend money with that is beyond politics, well, maybe not politics, but economics, and market conditions and price and some of those things that you mentioned, Arlene, shipping and stuff. And so that is really a new kind of factor at play here with loyalty. So before we get into tactics, what I would love to hear from the three of you is what are your kind of guiding principles when it comes to loyalty? What do you think overarchingly matters when you're trying to keep customers with you and coming back to you?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think for us and for me in particular, one of the biggest things that we go back to is just in order to figure out customer loyalty and what drives it, which is in and of itself a very tough nut to crack. It's that not all customers are created equal. There are so many different segments of audiences and customers to consider. And so it can't really be an approach of setting a strategy and set it and forget it. That's just not going to land today. And so a lot of what we focus on is understanding who the customer is. So really getting in there and understanding, not just from a transactional standpoint, but who they are, what are they worried about, what are they frustrated about, what are they talking about, what do they care about, all these different things. So really getting at the root of who the customer is, because based on that, you can then take the approach of testing, analyzing what's working, what's not, iterating from there, and really tailoring it to those different audiences. So we've really started to focus a lot on personalization. I would say that's one of the biggest things that customers I work with are focused on. And that really starts with understanding who they are, who are they trying to reach, who are they trying to sell to, who are they trying to message. So I think that's been a key principle for such a long time. But, to the earlier point made that there are so many touch points happening from traditional to social to email, all these different things. You have to understand who you're reaching and why you're reaching them. And so I would say for us, that's the biggest thing that we tend to focus on.
And I'll jump in on that, Genevieve. Sorry, Ewelina, I'll go real quick. I think knowing who your customer is becomes really important too when you understand why they shop with you. So I think some really clear brands that have kind of a cult following and a status symbol are Starbucks or Target, where just holding that Starbucks cup kind of gives you a sense of identity. So I think for our individual brands, that means, what does it mean when a customer is walking down the street holding a bag with my brand on it, or wearing a shirt, or whatever, is communicating to the outside world that they use this brand? What about that makes them feel good? And how can I don't want to say capitalize, but maybe how can I enhance that and double down on it to make sure that the customer knows I see you and I identify with you, and kind of feels like you're on their side along with that.
And what I wanted to add is, for us, we are a consumer product kind of goods segment company. Customers are key, they are our bread and butter. So understanding what drives the customer and consumer, creating different profiles for consumer personas, and understanding, what are the touch points of their, purchase journey to get them to convert, and then also how to keep them warm throughout post-purchase is super, super key. But knowing the fact, and there's, data out there that proves it, that it's 5 times more expensive to acquire new customer than to hold on to the new one. Honestly, I think 70% of my marketing budget goes towards, keeping the customer stickiness, so different tactics. And I believe loyalty is tied very closely to customer service experience, for the lack of better word. So the sentiment that the customer or consumer has about the brand. And what is a brand? It could be a product, but it could be also your shipping experience. The tracking information was delivered, not delivered on time. It could be the checkout problem. It could be, the wrong item being shipped, or wrong size. So I think it's making sure that everything is very frictionless and smooth. Just leaves the consumer with the positive sentiment, and they are more eager to, share and come back to the brand. When something goes wrong, consumers, they have patience for that. So they are more likely to either walk away from the brand or abandon. But for me, since I'm playing in this consumer and product goods and skincare space, it's super important for me that, we always stay top of mind with consumers. So post-purchase, what my team does, we always send out an email thanking them for the purchase, notifying them when the package is being delivered. And after them, we give them an opportunity via email or SMS to rate their experience, not necessarily the product, but the experience. The product rating comes usually like a month or 2 after they, we assume they've been using it for. But this gives us an opportunity to, hear them out, and then opens, also an opportunity to hear if there's any feedback that we should be acting on. When it comes to, having reviews and ratings on our products, it's just tremendous, because we know that word of mouth marketing, it's, it speaks volume. It's pretty much, you can put a dollar value on that. In terms of reviews, we encourage that, the reviews are being shared on our website and on social media. And we took it a step further when it comes to loyalty. I know that a lot of, consumers who come and visit our website, I watch the heat map, they go on PDP and they scroll out all the way down to the bottom to read the reviews. And I wanted to make sure that the reviews that are listed on our website are not just generic. I wanted to make sure that I can search the reviews by a persona that it's kind of, resonates with me. So if I'm a 45-year-old, female with aging skin concerns, and I live in, like the humid climate in the United States, I want to see that somebody else already, with similar, affinities purchased the product, and what is their sentiment. So we always taking a step a little bit further to make it seamless and more of, I guess, opportunistic for consumers.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Ewelina. I'd love to hear from Arlene and Genevieve other real tactics, because I think we talk about a lot of these big things: personalization, knowing your customer. They all sound great, but how are you seeing brands, or how have you actually executed on that, need, and how are you doing it? It's kind of similar to what Ewelina was sharing.
Yeah, for us, it is that a lot of what Ewelina said, I was like, yes, love that. That's amazing. It's a lot of the same, in that we are analyzing, the behavior of individuals. And so creating different segmentation on terms of like how people have shopped previously. Are they coming back? What's drawing them back? How are they experiencing different parts of either web or mobile to make a repeat purchase, or maybe they're exploring and researching other things? What's preventing them from being able to do the thing that we assume they want to do based on the data that's available to us? And how can we make that smoother? I think that survey feedback is critical, and listening to that and analyzing and adjusting things based on what you're seeing so that the customers really feel heard. I think that's the biggest thing. We want to make sure that the customers feel valued and that they feel like, man, this brand is really, it gets me. It's listening to me. It's tailoring things. I'm not running into the same repeated issue over and over. That is just a nail in the coffin that we want to prevent. So we are constantly evaluating and iterating. A/B testing is a really big thing that we've been looking at. So creating different segmentation of individuals that maybe purchase at a particular dollar amount. What are they coming back to do? How can we make sure that, again, to Ewelina's point, make it more sticky so that we feel like they're having a really good experience and want to come back? Outside of some of those, I think the tactics that really bring people back for purchase and making sure that people feel heard. Previously worked with Target. It's a brand that I adore. So having had the opportunity to work directly with them was a dream come true. But I think they are one of the gold standards of brands that look beyond just the transactional moment to create an experience. They want people to come in and really feel like Target as a brand is a place where I feel at home. I love shopping there. I love the emails I get from them, the mobile alerts that I get from them. And they've gone as far as to create, again, going back to community, because it's something I feel very passionately about. They created different communities for different audiences and let those be a place of connection so that people can talk about their purchase experience. And Target is there, maybe not proactively engaging, but they're listening. They're looking to see how people talk about different product lines. They post about stuff in that group to kind of get a sense of, is this going to land? Is this not going to land? So I think that's something that I've really loved to see brands go back to. I know I've mentioned it before, but I think that's such a really interesting tactic that doesn't make it feel like a transaction. It really makes it feel like a community and a place where the brand is doing so much more to create loyalty and advocacy.
Yeah, and then I'll jump in from more of kind of a development perspective. I try to keep in mind that every interaction I have with a customer is transactional, whether that means financial or just the fact that they are giving me their time and money instead of a different brand or a different product. And that means that I need to kind of hold up my end of the bargain and provide a great experience. Even something like site load speed. If you're loading your pages too slowly, that's in my mind kind of disrespecting the customer, right? They came to you, they really want to shop, they really want to browse, and you're crashing every other page. That's going to lead to a really frustrating experience and probably lose that customer. So when I say transactional, that could be, hey, here's a promo for you based on your shopping behavior. So kind of that personalization approach. That could be, like I said, just really fast load speeds and a really smooth, seamless experience. That could be some kind of delightful experience that we tailor to, hey, you're one of our top customers, here's a fun quiz that'll help us. But there's different ways that you can get creative and approach it, but ultimately just keeping in mind that respect for the customer. They could be anywhere else right now and they're here. And so we really want to capitalize on that. And I don't mean to keep saying capitalize, because I truly do see customers as, I think we should treat customers as partners in a way. We're there to enhance their quality of life. We're there to support their needs and not so much just like take money, because that kind of goes against the whole idea of building a community or building a relationship.
Another aspect I think of that experience that is very difficult to nail down is the frequency. Like you mentioned, I mean, Ewelina, at the very beginning, we're bombarded these days by emails, by texts. How do you do that job of keeping yourself in front of customers but not bombarding them? There are certain brands that I get way too many emails from. How do you find that balance between, keeping yourself in front of them, and annoying them?
Sure. So I think I approach it by keeping the life cycle of the product in mind. So I know that every 2-3 months, the consumer should hopefully be coming back for replenishment order. So I always keep it in mind, but to send like a gentle reminder that you might be running out. Here's a nice promotional code, probably like a week or two prior to the time period. But on average, I do not deploy more than one email per week because I personally get so many emails and I keep on unsubscribing or junking a lot of emails, and I don't want to be that brand. I don't want to be that annoying brand. But what I found interesting is that SMS marketing, although not new, I don't think it hasn't been capitalized or leveraged just yet by marketers. Maybe not in the skincare industry just yet. So, and I see like consumers are very receptive to quick SMS messaging. So, text messages, and they can opt in, opt out quickly. You can just reply yes. They can actually handle customer service questions. We can send them surveys this way. And so far, I don't think they've been finding it too spammy. And then beyond email and SMS marketing, we like to stay on top of mind by investing in paid media and paid social. So hoping to pop up, on different channels where our consumers are and where they consume information. In my case, I know that the skincare consumer most likely is reading Allure magazine or is reading Elle magazine beauty articles. So I want to make sure that my banner ad, my little skyscraper ad does pop up there. And that's kind of the investment I've been making. But beyond that, we usually also do random customer service audits. We call our customers. I would say 99% of the time, nobody picks up the phone and it goes to voicemail. But those people that actually either call us back or pick up the phone, they are more than willing to share their sentiment and their experience and feedback. And there's a lot of learnings that I get from that, and then have meetings with my customer service teams to report back on any opportunities that we may, leverage. We do a lot of social listenings as well. There's a tool, available by a lot of platforms that provide, social media management, and you get a lot of insights as well. You can see what's trending, what campaigns are coming up, what people are talking about. It could be a keyword that I haven't, capitalized on in the past. So I get a lot of insights mostly from consumers and then listening, because I like it to keep it a two-way street. I want it to be a two-way conversation, so it's mutually beneficial to both parties.
Yeah, and I have to say, Ewelina, I love when people call me or when you actually interact with a real human being. I know it's not possible to do at scale, but when you do get that opportunity, it definitely feels like, oh, this is a brand that cares about me, and that you might actually have a lot more staying power in my life because I've had that touch point. The addition I would make from—
It's very nice to hear. In our case, we went, we have obviously customer service, traditional phone communications or chat on a website, but we also invested into having a live consultation, so skincare consultation with a professional such as dermatologist, because we are selling a medical grade skincare, so we want to make sure that we provide that level of customer service beyond the usual phone operator. It's actually somebody who is licensed to provide not medical advice, but the guidance. Making it more seamless. So now you have access to dermatologists without, at the comfort of your home, without leaving your home. So.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just one question or one little thing you're not sure about that's stopping you from making that purchase. So having that access, I think really, I'm sure, drives a lot of conversion.
Yeah, we try to make it seamless and smooth.
Yeah.
Because once people buy the product, hopefully they will love it. So we also invest into sampling campaign, but that's another marketing tactic that helps upsell and cross-sell products, but also keeps the loyalty going, because a lot of people love to receive samples as a GWP and they bring it on their trips when they travel. So we love to hear those stories as well.
That's the ultimate loyalty hook, is having a good product that people like and can't get anywhere else. Not everybody can do that though, and it's been mentioned a few times, and I really want to focus in on this idea of community, because I think we are increasingly seeing, especially as social media becomes more and more part of our lives, brands having real success creating community around with their customer base. And Genevieve, you mentioned a couple of examples already, Target and Patagonia. For brands that haven't developed this yet, though, I think it can be a bit of a challenge to think of how to get there. How do I create this community around their brand? So what have you seen work, and what advice do you have in getting to that point where you really have a community of your engaged consumers?
Yeah, so we've, in the past, I've worked with a number of brands from enterprise down to, small, medium to figure out what it is they want to do. And I think the biggest thing is, coming up with an approach for what is the purpose of the group, what is the mission of the group or the community or whatever it is that you're trying to start, and thinking about how it ultimately will sustain itself. I think a lot of people get super excited about, I want to launch this thing, it's going to be so great. And they think maybe 3 months ahead. A lot of times, not that you can always plan for a year out, because I don't think many of us could have said what would have transpired over the past 12 months. There's just no way nobody has a crystal ball and can see into the future. But, it really is about having a community first approach to a community. And I know that probably seems so obvious, but there are so many customers and brands that I've worked with that really want to make it about them. And how can I mine this group for insights? How can I do promos in there? How can I do XYZ? And we really have to counsel that a community is about connection. It is about fostering relationships. It's about making it a safe space for people to talk about what matters to them with peers. They don't want to be spammed in there because they get spammed in so many other places. It really has to be about an experience or a feeling or different things that really matter, and it's personalized, right? So, there can be some groups that are really focused on innovation, which is amazing, and really having the right individuals come in there to kind of ideate and make them feel part of the product design and roadmap. There are other groups that are just centered around body positivity or different things like that, that map inadvertently back to the brand, but are really about, how does the brand make me feel beyond just putting on the product? And so there are so many different approaches. And so really thinking about, again, what is the purpose? What is the mission? How do we hope to make people feel connected to who we are as more than just a label? I think those are some of the most important things that we start to think about and scale. How are we going to sustain this? We can't just have it be something that we test and then leave it to hang and dry. So those are the big things that we kind of try to make sure that we feel super clear on, and how we're going to measure success. So having some of those initial KPIs are super critical to making sure that that thing can sustain itself over a period of time.
Yeah, and just to build on what Genevieve said, I think just look how many social media platforms we have now versus like 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. And there's communities that attract to different social platforms and different age groups. And I think like so many affinities. People, especially post-pandemic, they are searching for the sense of belonging. They love being part of something bigger and better, and also influence purchase behavior. They love to share their opinions, their feedback and things of that nature. I enjoy engaging with like Facebook groups and actually facilitate like Facebook lives, Instagram lives, because it attracts the right kind of like consumer or person who's interested in a skincare as a category. And most recently I came across Group Shop, which is an application that is kind of like I think like an application that is compatible with Shopify, where one can become an influencer. And I love the fact that our customers, I'm not using the app just yet, but I know that I love that customers love sharing products that they buy and love with their friends and family. And sometimes we do it via email, sometimes we just do it as a word of mouth. But this this particular application lets you create almost like your own e-commerce store where products that you buy from different brands are being displayed, and you almost become like an influencer. And we know that everybody on social media is an influencer nowadays. Some of them are professional influencers and do it for a living, and other people are influencers just by default because they have this either knowledge or insights about brands or certain ingredients, and they love to share what they know. So people trust other people, right? Friends trust friends, and I think everybody should be compensated for influencing other people's behavior. So I found communities to be powerful in leveraging.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like we're just about out of time. I feel like we could go on and on about that community aspect for a while. Another one that I came across that has been really interesting recently is True Classic, which is that men's t-shirt brand that you've probably seen on your social feed. And they also started a Facebook group. And I think what's great about what they're doing is that a lot of these communities take on a life of their own outside of the brand. To your point, Genevieve, it's also about the customers connecting with each other. They ask each other for recommendations. What would this look good with? And the fact that you as the brand have created that space is also just really powerful loyalty builder, even though you're not exactly, engaging in that moment with them or asking anything of them. We are just about out of time. Before I let you guys go, rapid fire, real quick answer. I'd love to hear what you all think is the next big thing in loyalty. What new tactics, techniques are up and coming that you think are really going to help drive this in the coming years?
I have strong feelings about this one. I think memberships. So we're seeing a lot of brands roll out memberships. Panera is my favorite case study. They have unlimited fountain drinks and coffee and tea for $10 a month. You walk in the store, you're very likely going to buy something else. So I think it's going to be a huge trend. It's not going to work for every brand, and it has to be executed in a way that makes sense for each individual brand, but it does encompass both a lot of what we talked about. So, giving customers a different reason to be loyal to you than because you're the fastest or the cheapest or the most ubiquitous. And it also kind of gives you that sense of community of, hey, like this is my spot where I go get my nails done. And, you go twice a month and you pay for that membership and they know your name, whatever, extrapolate that to various industries. So I think we're going to see a lot of those coming and a lot of them will stick around.
Yeah, I think we haven't really seen the true, we haven't peaked as it comes to chatbots. I think we've seen a lot of companies use chatbots from a support standpoint, but I think as that technology continues to get more sophisticated, I think personalization will play a big part in that. I think as more companies start to integrate them with their CRM tools and maybe even use chatbots for marketing purposes, maybe seasonality things. I think that's going to start to become a much bigger piece. I think we'll start to see a lot of evolution and innovation when it comes to chatbots, which I think will be really interesting.
And I agree with both of the examples that Arlene and Genevieve mentioned. To me personally, I always look at what Amazon is doing. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, subscribe and save, product bundling, the Prime, which is pretty much like a membership, right? The convenience of products being available 24/7 and being able to get it the next day. I feel like not that it's future, but it's kind of like future on steroids. If you can apply it, if it's applicable to your industry, to your product, by all means, copy and mirror what's been successful for Amazon, Walmart.com, Overstock.com, those marketplaces. Because if you are a D2C brand, you should be definitely, looking at them as big players for inspiration. But the absolutely memberships, humongous, subscribe and save, convenient deliveries, you name it. That's kind of the future. Frictionless commerce.
Mm-hmm. Another one I'm keeping my eye on is kind of along the same lines as you, Genevieve, is business messaging. So all the things you can start to do now in things like Messenger and WhatsApp, from commerce to customer service, one-on-one. I think there's some real potential there, and we see it already happening in China. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for. Thank you guys so much. This was a great conversation. So much great tactical insight. I hope all of you enjoyed it, and I'm going to pass it back now to Kaitlyn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Ewelina, Genevieve, and Arlene for a wonderful conversation. And thank you everyone for watching. You can head back to the agenda by hitting the back to timeline button, and we'll see you there.